Hi everyone! Welcome to Law Online, the virtual law class for non-lawyers. My name is May and I will be your teacher. Today's lesson is Introduction to Forgery. Forgery is officially called falsification. Falsification is the official designation of the crime. When the public prosecutor files a case for forgery, the case will be called falsification in the court dockets and not forgery. The common understanding is that a person commits forgery by copying the signature of another person. That is correct. But forgery is not just the copying of another person's signature. There are 7 different ways of committing forgery, and copying the signature of another person is just one of them. The crime of forgery has one basic requirement. Without this basic requirement, it is impossible to commit forgery, and this requirement is the document. For purposes of forgery, it is necessary to have, first and foremost, a document. If you do not have a document, you cannot commit forgery because there will be nothing to falsify. Let us say you get a blank sheet of paper and then you copy your friend's signature and put it on this blank sheet of paper. Did you commit forgery? The answer is no, because a blank sheet of paper is not a document. What is a document? A blank sheet of paper becomes a document once something is written on it, but it cannot just be any writing. If you tear a page out of your favorite novel, the page is not a document. At least not in the sense that I am talking about. A writing turns a blank page into a document if A. It grants a right, B. It removes an obligation, or C. It makes a statement of fact. For example, when someone sells his car to another person and writes a transaction down on a piece of paper, the piece of paper becomes a document called a deed of sale. When a person pays a loan and his creditor acknowledges the payment by writing it on a piece of paper, the piece of paper becomes an acknowledgement receipt, which is also a document. When a person narrates how he lost his driver's license and then writes that down on a piece of paper, the piece of paper becomes a document called an affidavit. For the document to be the object of falsification, it must have apparent legal efficacy. It is a legal term that means that the document must be valid, or at least appears to be valid, for it to become the object of falsification. When is a document valid? We are not discussing that for purposes of this video. For the time being, all you need to know is that only valid documents can be falsified. How to tell whether a document is valid or not will be the subject of another video. But I will touch on the topic of notarization for a very important reason. The presence or absence of notarization changes the nature of the crime. First and foremost, know that a document does not need to be notarized for it to become the object of falsification. It does not matter whether or not a certain document is notarized. If it grants a right or removes an obligation, or makes a statement of facts, it is a document, regardless of whether or not it is notarized. You may want to ask, doesn't the absence of notarization make a document invalid? The answer is no. A document can be perfectly valid even if not notarized. The absence of notarization can make a document unenforceable at best, but it cannot make the document invalid. What is the difference between an unenforceable document and an invalid document? Well, again, that is something that we cannot discuss in this video as it will cause us to deviate from the main topic in a major way. For purposes of this video, you only need to know that notarization does not affect the validity of a document. But the presence or absence of notarization can change the nature of the document. Consequently, it will also change the nature of the crime of falsification. Let me explain. A notarized document is a public document. while an unauthorized document is a private document. To illustrate, let us say that Maria and Juan agreed that Juan will sell his motorcycle to Maria. They put that agreement on a piece of paper, and the piece of paper is now a document called a deed of sale. The deed of sale may or may not be notarized. If it remains unauthorized, it is a private document. If Maria and Juan decide to have it notarized, the notarized deed of sale becomes a public document. Why is it important to make a distinction between private and public documents? It is important to make the distinction because the crime of falsifying a public document has slightly different elements than the crime of falsifying a private document. What do we mean by elements? Let me take you back to first grade when the concept of mammals was introduced to you by your teacher for the first time. What did your teacher say about mammals? If you remember, your teacher told you that a mammal has the following characteristics. First, it has a backbone. Second, it has hair. Third, the female mammal has glands that will produce milk to feed its young. You will remember that your teacher told you that if an animal has all three characteristics, then you can be pretty sure it is a mammal. Absent one of these, and the animal is likely something else. Crimes are much the same way. They have characteristics, which are technically called elements. Each crime has a different set of elements, and all elements have to be present for the crime to exist. Let us apply that concept to forgery. When the document being forged is an unauthorized document, the crime is called falsification of a private document. When the document being forged is a notarized document, the crime is falsification of a public document. The crime of falsification of a private document has different elements or characteristics from the crime of falsification of public document. That is why it is important for us to know whether or not the document involved was notarized or not. Earlier, I mentioned that there are more ways to commit forgery than just the copying of another person's signature. These ways of committing forgery are called by law as acts of falsification. The next videos of this series will discuss these acts one by one and will hopefully give you a clear picture of what the crime of forgery is all about. So join me in the next videos of Law Online and let us learn about the law together. See you!